Okay, everybody, good morning. Great to have you. It's Friday, finally a Friday, guys. And I love the webinars, especially when I get to work with my good friends in the business, and I've got two of the best. We've got Ed DeLayan and we've got Vanessa Zitman obviously from Zigen. And you guys, it's been a pleasure to work with you guys for the last couple of years as far as Volutone is concerned. Such a hands-on company Zigen is. And I always try to give Ed a little bit of props because, you know, you're talking about a CEO, you're talking about a chemist in a way who was a full integrator, was a customer of ours, and he has grown, his ideas have grown. It's so cool to see. And that's it. You're an inventor. You took your ideas and brought it to market. And that's what I love about your company. But we'll get through the details in a couple of seconds here. I just want to welcome everybody from the Snap AV world. I'm Gary from Volutone, and I represent the distributor network that we have, which is AllNet, and it's MRI, and it's Custom Plus up north. I'm Gary from Los Angeles. But today's training is going to cover obviously all the Zigen lineup. Let's ask some questions. I'm Bruce. Oh, it's good to see Bruce is on here today. Gosh, you know, I love our deals, of course. I love it, whoever's on here. But Bruce can give us actually a surf report this morning from Huntington Beach. I don't know. Bruce, you can chat down there and tell us how it was, but he's usually out early surfing, so that's a good thing. He gets back and does training, which is great.
That's awesome.
Good to see you, buddy. But as I was saying, let's keep up the chat. Vanessa, you can help field as well. Ed, we'll maybe take a pause or two and field the questions. We want to dig into specific jobs. Obviously, this is a small audience today, but let's make the most of it. But I want to thank you guys. Vanessa, thank you so much. Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.
I will turn it over to you guys. You're sharing screen. Everything's okay for your presentation?
Let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Got it. Anyway, let's have a good one, guys. I'm going to turn it on over. Let's do this. Thank you.
All right. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming, whether you're watching live right now or whether you are going to be watching this on the video later. Either way, welcome. And we're really happy to be doing this educational webinar with Volutone. Again, I'm Vanessa Zitzman with Ed DeLayan. Ed used to be an integrator who purchased products from Volutone, which is really interesting. So because Ed has this background as an integrator, because he has a background in engineering, what he actually did was he was noticing issues, problems, glitches, bugs in his installations, and he wanted to find a way to fix that. So what he did is he literally created a research and design team, and he drilled in on the issues that he saw that he could fix within our AV industry. So from that came Zigen. So when we say Zigen, we always like to say that we come from an integrator's point of view, and that is literally true. Again, as Ed has 26 years in the field, and all of our products start with that mindset. So Ed, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, thanks for the intro. Thank you guys very much for joining us. I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I saw a lot of glitches in the industry. Wanted to put my own touch and fix the problems because we were just tired of zigzagging between brands trying to cultivate a solution. So we formed the Zigen line, and you know, we're just zigging from now on. So that's just been the saying.
Perfect. So what we've done for the Volutone crew and the whole this section, AllNet MRI, for all you guys that are watching, is we've done a 4-part webinar series, and we kind of condensed that today into this 1-hour session. So what we're going to do is go over 1 gig versus 10 gig AV over IP solutions, and then we're going to run through our product line. So we wanted to start off talking about, before we get to all of our 1 gig and 10 gig, we want to start off with AV over IP versus your traditional analog installation. So why do you even want to choose AV over IP in the first place? So AV over IP has several advantages. It uses the existing IT network infrastructure to extend, distribute, and cross-switch audio and video. It's got more feature sets. It's going to utilize less devices. You're also going to have multi-purpose use for these AV over IP products, whereas your traditional installations the equipment's going to be very specific for the one thing that it does. It's going to be bulkier and it's not going to offer as much flexibility and expansion with your analog solution. So Ed created this great side-by-side comparison. This is your typical AV over IP installation versus your traditional cross-point switch installation. Ed, can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is just a rough reference diagram for you guys to see, you know, your traditional cross-point switch on the left, where you're limited to the X amount of inputs and outputs, and to the right is going to be your AV over IP topology, just to understand the layout and what you could do with it. Obviously, with the AV over IP, you have virtually zero limits. Anytime you want to add an encoder and or decoder, whether that's a source and or display, you just simply add the encoder and decoder. But for us, it was very important to go into uncompressed, you know, to maintain things uncompressed, where, you know, traditional cross-point switches allow you to do the uncompressed video. But for the AV over IP, it's great. I mean, it's flexible, but it was, again, it was very important for us to maintain the uncompressed topology and just to keep the raw data throughput. So again, just to help you understand AV over IP, it's limitless. Yep, simple.
All right. So now what we're going to look at here, we're going to go right into the next slide, and that is introducing the 1 gig versus the 10 gig solution. So one of the things that we get asked all the time is, you know, 1 gig versus 10 gig, which is better, which is worse? Really, it's not even about that. One isn't necessarily better than the other in regards to all installations. 1 gig has its place in the industry, just like 10 gig has its place. But you actually know which solution is right for you. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to jump right into the 1 gig AV over IP solutions here. So you're looking at a solution that's ideal for bars, restaurants, gyms, maybe some small residential installations where a lower resolution isn't as big of a deal. With bars and restaurants and gyms, you are dealing with a viewer or a quote end user that's not really going to be sitting and staring at that screen normally more than an hour at a time. Some of the pros for your AV over IP 1 gig solutions, obviously it's less expensive. It works off of readily available 1 gig switches. We've been using it a while. It's already very familiar. It does support video walls and it does support some AES 67. But Ed, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the cons when it comes to the 1 gig solution?
Yes, absolutely. So again, I mean, the viewer is not going to go to a bar and or a restaurant and or the gyms for the viewing experience. You know, it's just having some content to get by, you know, enjoy their drinks and food, so on and so forth. Your 1 gig is adding a lot of compression, extreme compression, adds latency, limited to HDCP 2.2, and limited growth, or room for growth. Those are the primary cons when it comes to 1 gig.
Right. So now we're going to look at the 10 gig AV over IP solution. Because the bandwidth is much greater, because we're using a 10 gig versus 1 gig solution, this is going to be ideal and it's going to open you up for a lot more options. You can utilize this in commercial and enterprise work. It's perfect for government and military, security, high-end residential, hospitality, broadcast, higher ed. You've got marine and aviation, live events, and one of the bigger growing industries right now, the gaming industry. This is perfect for the gaming industry. Really the only con with your 10 gig AV over IP solution is that upfront sticker shock. But even that kind of only is half a con, because really what you're doing is you're paying for this installation all up front instead of piecemeal the way you would have to with the 1 gig solution where you have to keep adding to grow. Ed, can you tell us about the pros of the 10 gig solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got virtually zero latency. It can support static and dynamic HDR. It supports Dolby Vision. It supports uncompressed audio. It supports USB 2.0. It supports AES 128 video encryption. It supports AES 67 and ST2110, so it's backwards compatible to Dante, Ravina, Livewire, and so forth. And when it, we're talking about pros and cons. I mean, let's face it. We're running Category 6A cable now. We're not running Cat 5, so we know Cat 6A is better, and we're doing it for the bandwidth. So why are we running Cat 6? But putting the bottleneck on the equipment if we have the pipeline. Again, the only cons, the way we see it when it comes to 10 gig, is the upfront cost of the equipment.
So now that we kind of have an understanding of the pros and cons, we actually want to talk to you guys right now about what actually fits in your pipeline. So we've created a chart, and this will help you visualize the bandwidth limitations. So we have this great chart here that Ed has created for us. So real quick, so you know what we're talking about, if you look at the bottom corner, you see that I've got my little arrow here, the 8, 10, 12, 16, those are your color bits. You've got your 30 and 60, that's your frame. Then you see we've got the chroma, so you've got your 420, 422, 444, etc. Those are your RGB. And then lastly, you've got your resolution. So just that's a real quick, keys, so you know what we're talking about here. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just, again, basic introduction. We'll come back to this chart again down the road, and you'll understand this much better. But
right.
These red arrows basically indicate your bandwidth requirements or the bandwidth throughput for the raw data. The first arrow where it says to the left, 1 gig. I mean, we're looking at bandwidth requirements for 1920 by 1080 at 420 chroma and 30 frames per second with 8-bit. If we look at that raw throughput bandwidth requirement, that already exceeds 1 gig. So you would actually need 1.11 gig throughput to send the 1080 30 frames at 420 chroma. But when we slide over to the right arrow, which is the 10 gig, you could send everything in between uncompressed up to 4K 30 444 8-bit. That falls under the HDMI 1.4 and or 2.2. But when we're looking at some HDR requirements, you already see that the requirements is going to be 14.26 throughput. And you would actually need to compress a lot. When it comes to 1 gig, you have to compress 64:1 to allow that to fit. What Zigen has done is Zigen has figured out how to compress that information, the algorithm, within 20 nanoseconds without degrading the picture quality. Again, keep in mind, in 10 gig pipeline, we could send everything through up to 4K 30 or 444 with 8-bit. So again, we'll come back to this chart. I don't want to emphasize too much on the bandwidth requirement, but once we go through everything else, it will start making sense to you. So this chart here represents the resolution. So on the right, the red square represents our 14. Technically, this is the only resolution that you could send over 1 gig without any compression. Moving to HD and Full HD and Ultra HD and or DCI, you will actually have to compress a lot to make that fit in a 1 gig pipeline. In fact, you can't even send DCI, 4K DCI over 1 gig because it just does not fit, period. So again, this is just to help you understand. We'll come back to it and it'll make more sense. And here, this chart.
So this is a big one. We get asked a lot about compression within AV over IP. So one of the things, again, we hear a lot is why should we be concerned with the supposedly wonderful uncompressed signal with 10 gig when traditional 1 gig AV over IP, they tell us can deliver 4K 60 and HDR. But in reality, it cannot send uncompressed 4K 60 and HDR.
Right. The question is always, does it support all that? Well, right. We got to keep in mind that 1 gig cannot support the 10-bit HDR. At best, it's going to support 8-bit static HDR. Cannot support Dolby Vision at all. And it does 64:1 compression. And that actually translates to reduced picture quality, artifacts, granularity, and limited feature sets. And on the right, you could see the original content coming in. At the bottom of it, you could see the compressed image going out on 1 gig pipeline. So you're adding a lot of artifacts because you don't have the bandwidth. Especially if you're taking a 4K resolution, you're dumbing it down to 1080p. What it does, you're basically dividing that into 2, and every other pixel you're throwing it away to make it fit in a 1 gig pipeline. But again, on top of that, you're adding a lot of compression. After you get rid of all those pixels, on top of it, you're gonna add a lot of compression to make it fit. In return, you're gonna get a lot of artifacts and granularity.
All right. So next up is, does compression actually matter? Yes, compression matters. If you can see the difference on this slide, your clients can too. So if you're utilizing products that are using color space compression or conversion or invisible compression technology,
right,
you are compromising your colors, which means you're compromising your content and your image.
And this actually applies to your traditional HD-based T extenders as well, because a lot of the companies will use color space conversion and or lossless compression. And they will actually claim that the compression doesn't matter because human eye only sees the whites and the blacks, right? If that was true, for example, let's just say it was true, why are we spending all this money and trying to convince customer to allow us to calibrate their displays if color doesn't matter? Again, I mean, it's just, you know, contrary, in my opinion. And I think that's limit to the companies that would, on their technology. This is not a industry-wide problem. It just, you know, Zigen has figured out how to deliver all this without dumbing it down. So again, you can see the compression algorithms when you're doing color space conversion and or lossless compression. That's more visible on your magentas, on your blues and the reds. You could see the lines are missing. All that information is missing. And that also applies to your whites and the blacks. You could see it. In comparison, at the bottom of the screen, you could see your whites are not true white, and you have a lot of information missing. And again, that's you know, color space and or lossless compression. But what Zigen has done, Zigen has created the display stream conversion, and this is a broadcast standard. And moving forward, even in HDMI 2.1, HDMI org even agrees with us because moving forward, everything is going to add display stream conversion. So that's the only way you're going to be able to fit that data through the pipeline. So again, Zigen has figured this out. We deliver on the promises. We don't want to dumb anything down. And it's very important. To me, it's very important to deliver the colors. And moving into this chart, you'll understand why. This is the color gamut chart. Basically, this odd shape is the colors that human eye can see. If we could see all this, then why are we saying, not us in particular, but why is the industry saying that the colors don't matter? Colors matter a lot. You know, we have these 3 triangles. Basically, you have your Rec 709, which was 1080p. You have your digital cinema, which was the second red triangle. And the third triangle in black is the Rec 2020, which is ideal for your Dolby Vision. This is the closest we've been able to come to the actual color gamut chart. And, you know, the whole industry, the industry as a whole has spent a lot of money upgrading their equipment, their products and whatnot. So, you know, again, we're trying to accomplish, we're chasing this color palette chart. And if it didn't matter, then we wouldn't chase it. So again.
Well, and that's why if you're going to buy or you're going to promise, you know, Rec 2020, which is Dolby Vision or even, you know, HDR, whatever flavor, but then you're going to go back and you're going to compress the signal, already you are dumbing down the colors.
Right. Again.
Which seems redundant.
Exactly. When it comes to us, I mean, we're trying to stay true to our promises. But without spending too much time on the color chart, again, we have different slides for different things, but I just want to dive into things a little bit here so that compression bandwidth chart starts making sense to you. And this is the HDR chart. Basically, you know, it shows the details in the shadows and the details in the highlights. You can see the picture quality is night and day. And the way you capture that, the filmmakers were capturing that, you know, even back 10, 20 years ago, they were capturing that content in 4K 6444 chroma with HDR, but they really didn't figure out how to deliver that content to you. So they would, in a mastering, they would dumb it down, compress it, and put it on a Blu-ray.
For the Blu-ray DVDs and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But once the streaming became available, you know, they figured out how they could stream that. And that in return gave us, you know, the black levels and the brightness. You know, from the black levels, it could go down to 0.005 nits up to 10,000 nits. And so that is huge. That's why.
And Ed can teach an entire hour just on this chart.
I mean, we could spend about 4 hours just, you know, diving into the whole charts, the 2-3 charts that we went through. Again, this is in a couple of minutes that we're trying to cover it. And this represents our RGB triplets, our bits, the bit depth. And, you know, with 8-bit, you're getting roughly about 256 shades per color. At 10-bit, you're going to get 1024 shades per color. And at 12-bit, 4096 shades per color. Obviously, more bit depth, less granularity, less artifacts, and the picture are sharper and brighter. And that will equate to here, go back to that chart, Vanessa, real quick.
Sorry, I got overexcited.
Yeah. So, and in return, if we're sending 10-bit information, that's going to give us roughly about 1 billion or 1.1 billion different colors. And if we could do it in 12-bit, that's going to give us a roughly about 69 billion different colors. So again, the color palette, the gamut chart that we're chasing, right at the end of the day, more colors, less granularity, less artifacts. So now we could go on to the—
Now we go and revisit the bandwidth chart.
Exactly.
Here.
So hopefully now it starts making a little bit more sense why this chart matters, because again, going to your 8-bit for 1 gig, you're already exceeding the bandwidth requirement for the raw data throughput. And again, with Zigen product, AV over IP product, we don't compress anything up to 4K 30/444 chroma. The only compression takes place from 4K 30 to 4K 60, and we do it roughly in 20 nanoseconds. So we figured out a way how to do all this without dumbing down the picture quality. So
there's your 1 gig, 10 gig HDR.
Sorry. Right.
So now that we have told you about, we've talked about bandwidth and compression and all the good stuff that goes with it, and all the issues that can happen, we want to introduce to you IP Logic, which is your solution to all of these things. This is really going to change the way you look at AV over IP. Everything that you see listed is going to be all included in this product. This is one network, one ecosystem. This is a 10 gig AV over IP solution with an audio matrix built in. It has all the broadcast standards. You have AES 128, AES 67, ST2110. You've got independent scaling, autonomous EDID management. You can tile up to 32 sources on one display. You've got video walls up to 64 displays. You've got complete customization with Zigen, which is our web GUI and software. You've got virtually zero latency, instant switching. This is fully expandable, scalable, and customizable. And of course, it's a standalone product, or you can work with a different automation house. We have drivers for Crestron, we're working on Zagen, we're working on RTI, amongst several others.
And Control 4, let's not forget Control 4. One of the most important ones in my—
One of the most important.
Right.
So when you're looking at Zigen and our IP Logic ecosystem, this is a patent pending platform. And because the audio matrix lives in the ecosystem, you're going to eliminate the need for additional switches, audio bridges. You're going to be able to actually scale down how many little boxes you actually need, which is really going to make us stand above the competition.
Right. It was very important for us to keep everything on a single switch. Competing products require you to have multiple network switches. One for audio, one for video, one for USB, but it was very important for us to keep everything on a single switch. So that actually brings the cost of equipment down when you start factoring in the audio matrix, the KVM functionality, and all the rest of the stuff. let's just say the quads, multi-view, picture-in-picture, all those, you know, is part of it. So again, you might be paying up front, but you're getting the whole thing, as you know, the full gamut of everything.
So Ed, real quick, we do have a question.
Yes.
What is the cabling requirement for a 10 gig infrastructure?
So for any 10 gig network, any 10 gig infrastructure is Cat6A. Cat6A is rated for 10.2 gig. Anything below it, regular Cat6 actually could deliver 10 gig as well, but for a short haul, up to about 50 meters. Anything above and beyond, it's just not going to be able to carry it. So Cat6A is required for 330 feet of 10.2 gig. But ours also supports fiber, and it's got a dual engine built into it. So you could either plug in the copper and or fiber. With fiber, we could go up to 30 kilometers. But with copper is limited to 330 feet. You can't exceed that. But Cat6A is what's required.
So we are part of the SDVOE Alliance, which means that our products are also backwards compatible with any other SDVOE Alliance member. So we could actually use our products to go in and take over an installation because we're backwards compatible. So if you have, again, you're going in to fix an install from another SDVOE member and they decide they do want to utilize Zigen, you can utilize our products to control any other SDVOE product,
again,
which is really interesting.
A lot of the big boys are on that network, SDVOE Alliance, even Barco is on top of it, or a part of it. So if you have a Barco projector that supports SDVOE encryption, you could actually put one of our encoders, tie it in directly to a Barco projector. So you don't need an encoder and a decoder. So all you have to do is just tie in. Again, backwards compatible, and we could make devices do things that were never designed to do, because we take over commands and control over the FPGA. So that's one thing Zigen does differently from everybody else. We don't take a reference design. We actually strip everything down to the core of the chip, all the IOs, and then we put our own building blocks around it. And that's how we could actually take over all these different installs. As long as they're within that network, we could take over. So again, this is just a couple of reference diagrams that I've done for you guys to help you understand the topology. So this actually just allows you to have multiple sources on a single display. For here, we're just using 4 sources, 1 receiver, and that allows you to see all of them on the same display. And you could actually have up to 32 sources shown on a single display. This is actually ideal for theaters and whatnot. But if you're doing a whole ecosystem of residential or commercial, you could pull all those sources and project it on a single display. Again, just a 4x4 installation, just basic reference diagrams. This here, just 1 source, multiple displays. This is a 2x2 video wall. You could create up to 64 display video wall, which is going to be your 8x8 across.
We have several
reference diagrams.
We have several of these reference diagrams on our website. In addition, any of your Volume Tone sales representatives will have copies of all of this information, including this slideshow. And what they're actually going to get is all of the reference diagrams. Again, it's all available on our website, but your team at Volume Tone will be able to send you one-off PDFs, etc.
And we are as well for your design needs. Feel free to reach out to us. Anyone of you guys is welcome to reach out to us. We'll help you design the system and make sure it's going to get deployed accurately without any hiccups. So
well, that's when you're going to call Ed.
Yeah.
You don't want to call Vanessa. You're going to want to call Ed.
To you guys, it helps me understand, get insight from the field. I haven't been out in the field, but you know, that's how I stay on top of the information. I communicate with everybody. Everyone's welcome to give us a call. This is the IP Essential. IP Essential is essentially the unit that you communicate with or your control system communicates with. And this box sends the commands to the encoder and decoder. So again, this also has a dual port. This also helps segregate your house network from your AV over IP, so there is no cross-contamination. We also have the SFP module on this, so if you need to put this at a remote location, we also have the fiber on it, so you could extend this up to 30 kilometers as well if need be. Again, this is our encoder, and then we have a decoder. Our encoder has audio portion. Go back to that real quick. So our encoder has audio breakouts. The audio breakouts are not tied into the particular HDMI source. It's a complete audio matrix. You could pull audio from any given transmitter and or receiver or encoder, decoder. Go into our decoder, you could see our decoder also has audio inputs on it. So you could tie in balanced, unbalanced audio and or toslink from your smart TVs. You could take that toslink and or microphone or any audio source and route that anywhere in the network. So again, audio is completely flexible and separate from the video. You could actually overlay or embed audio on the HDMI stream. So in cases where you have a sound bar, not house speakers, you could send different audio source to that sound bar through the HDMI. All your TVs could be viewing different content. Let's say CNN, for example, you could be watching CNN and listen to different audio source. Completely flexible, even when it comes to HDMI. We also have 1 gig throughput, so you're not burning up your 10 gig ports. We give you 1 gig throughput, so you could tie that into your TV. Again, with one wire, you get all of this. You get your HDMI, you get your 1 gig throughput, you get USB 2.0, your audio distribution, IR, RS-232, everything is addressed.
I mean, we are just really impressive.
One thing I want to mention, it does do up and down scaling. So if you're in a mixed display environment, the autonomous EDID monitors your display information. So if you have a 480i, 720, 1080i, 1080p, 4K 30, 4K 60, the EDID will automatically detect all that information, monitor that information, and scale the resolution for that particular display. So you're not dumbing this down to the lowest common denominator. So each one of the displays will get their own unique resolution. We also do color space conversion, frame rate conversion. You know, it's completely flexible and it's automated. The whole thing is automated and it's self-healing. Should you have a problem, it's got that self-healing. So, you know, to prevent the service calls and whatnot.
And we'll show you all that information.
Yeah,
we'll show you how the Zigen fits in just a minute. We also have the IP Logic rack cage. This rack cage houses up to 10 of our encoders or decoders. It does have rack ears included. The rack itself is controllable via IR, RS-232, and IP.
And that's because
plus the temperature
if you decide to install this in a theater, a lot of guys have equipment rack in a theater, but what happens when the homeowners come to view, you know, you don't want that loud fan noise. So you could actually send a trigger to this to go in a quiet mode for viewing experience. This also monitors the temperature from your units, will send you alerts, or kick up the fan speed should it need to keep things cool.
All right, so this actually is a piece coming out later this summer. This is a sneak peek for you. This product is the IP Logic Audio Matrix. This is the ZigFlex AX48. This is a product that can be standalone, used all by itself, or can be utilized within the IP Logic system. So this is so new that I don't even feel qualified to speak about it. What you got, Ed?
So this is flexible. Again, the name says it all. It's flexible, 4x8, 4 inputs, 8 outputs, and you could cascade them. And you have virtually 0 limits when it comes to how many you could put together. So you know, if you have more audio zones, more audio sources, you could just add this onto the network. We pull the audio through AES. So this gets tied into the IP Logic. Now all your audio content is available on all outputs, and you could actually add more audio sources. Again, you could put side by side. This is one you design, half rack space, so you could put 2 of them on the shelf. It doesn't even need shelf because it comes with rack ears. But again, it's fully scalable. It does have 5-band EQ per output. It's got volume attenuation, tone control, left-right balance, surround effects, audio delay, It's fully loaded. Again, you could use this as standalone with any other system and or tie it into the IP logic. Again, all you need is just one network wire going into the network switch, and you can pull all the audio from the network or any AES or Dante, Ravina, Livewire enabled device. You could just pull the audio from it. Completely flexible. You could it supports balanced, unbalanced audio, and it also supports microphone inputs. So this is really cool. We're really excited about this, and we hope you are as well.
Our Zigen engineers don't do anything halfway. If we're going to put something out, it's going to be all inclusive. It's going to have everything you'd ever think of needing.
Yeah, and in fact, if your system requires audio matrix, if you add this into your system, then you could eliminate the IP essentials, because essentially we have an IP essential built into this to help bring costs down. So this will actually take over all the control.
See, we do think of everything at Zigen. So real quickly, we're going to go through the ZigNet web GUI, the software that you're going to utilize to control your IP logic and to monitor and customize and all that good stuff. So with ZigNet, you're going to get your EDID management, video control, audio control. You've got your diagnostics, alerts, and an analyzer tool all in one, and it comes with the IP logic. This is not something you have to pay for separately.
It actually comes with every switch we make, every matrix and or regular switch we make. This is part of it. The ZigNet diagnostics is part of it. And the diagnostics allows you to monitor everything. It's basically an analyzer. It can analyze all your video and audio inputs. It helps troubleshoot to pinpoint the problem, essentially. It's a tool in your back pocket. It's like a $5,000 tool built into even a basic switch, 4x1 basic switch. So
we just took some screenshots for you guys to look at.
This is a screen grab from the IP logic. Again, this is just the audio portion. Audio portion is drag and drop, should you want to use our free software that's included with IP logic. But again, we have drivers for all the majors. This is just showing you screen grabs of the audio controls. You have completely, go back to the audio. This shows you the master level, master audio per zone, 5-band EQ. You have your presets, frequency cutoff, audio delay up to 680 milliseconds per output. It's fully loaded. It's got a full-on DSP in it. So now you could jump into the next page. This is just a video routing. Again, this is drag and drop. This rectangle here, the gray rectangle, represents the groups that you could create. We allow you to create multiple groups. Let's say you're doing a large commercial install and or residential install where you have multiple displays in a single location. You could actually drag those destinations and create a group, so you could address it per group. So that way you don't have to send the video to every single one independently. That also applies to the audio portion of it. You could create audio groups. Let's say you're doing a large install, you want to put the house in a party mode. Again, you could create groups and just drag the audio source and drop it on a group.
Sorry.
Control the volume, master volume to address every single room. This is just a screen grab from the diagnostics. There's a lot. We have about 11 or 13 different folders that you could go through, but I thought this was pretty cool to show you the EDID specifications. Again, we're pulling the manufacturer's name, model number, the resolution, vertical, horizontal, the frame rate, whether it's interlace, progressive, HDR, what's the maximum pixel clock, does it support YUV422, how many bits, so on and so forth. This list goes on, and we could narrow this down to the pixel level. So this is just a quick setup in a multi-view, where if you're trying to do a multi-view, we have preset templates that you could choose from. This one is showing our 5-tiler. Basically, you could have up to 5 sources on a single display. As you can see, we have a 2x2 plus middle, 4x4. It goes up to 32. But you just basically select your TV, grab a template that you want, and then just drag and drop the sources on the location that you want to show.
Ed and the team tried to make this software as easy to use as possible. So anywhere there could be a template, there is a template. Anywhere that we could, basically what they did is they took Ed and the engineer's brains and they shoved them into this piece of software so that this software can be used with an entry-level installer, but it can also be just as well utilized by somebody who has a lot of experience in programming and
Correct, and we have a complete API listed, so should you want XYZ coordinates of an independent pixel, we could do that as well. We could give you all that information. This is just a video wall, just to show you how big of a video wall you could create. It's 8 by 8, up to 64 displays, and just basics, basic screen grabs.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is just go into a little bit about the regular Zigen product line. So my big thing, and this is, we did an interview with CE Pro not too long ago, and one of the questions that we were asked is, why is it so important to utilize one ecosystem in your installation? And again, there are lots of reasons why you should only want to use one product line, because Zigen has you covered for everything. So not only are we going to help you with your AV over IP needs, but we also have a full product line of extenders, matrices, switchers, audio products, and cabling, so that you can make your ecosystem as strong as possible. And there's only going to be us to call when you have a concern. It just makes everything easier for you.
It's all about the reliability, right?
It's all about the reliability. So one of the things that people want to know, there's several things that make Zigen different. So what is the Zigen difference? One, all of our products are designed from the ground up and engineered in Southern California, right down the street from the Van Nuys Voluton. The tech support is also done by Zigen engineers. Again, right down the street from the Voluton Van Nuys location. So everything we do is right there in Southern California. Again, with all of our products, we do have the autonomous EDID management, and we're utilizing the DSC, which is the broadcast standard compression. Right. So those two things together are very important to Zigen, because we don't believe in putting a choke on performance and interfering with the products actually talking to each other and doing their own jobs. All Zigen products are also future-proofed. So when Ed and the team are creating these products, you're not going to have to worry about replacing the product in a year because it's outdated. Everything that we do is set for years and years ahead of time. So
and to that point, not to cut you off, but to that point, our IP logic actually supports HDCP 2.3. Most people haven't even heard of that, but that's part of the specification for HDMI 2.1. And we actually support that. So if you buy something next year or 2 years from now, you don't have to replace your equipment because it's not compatible. It's actually compatible before even it hits the market. So we were able to accomplish that as well.
Well, that's what makes us plug and play and not plug and pray.
Correct.
So what Zigen wants to do is, we really want to be a foundation that you can build your installation on. We want to be a strong, solid foundation and a good partner for you. So if we start looking at our product line, we're going to start with our extenders here. We've got 5 flavors of extenders for you right now. We've got the, these are our Contractor series HDMI extenders. You've got your Zig POC 70 or POC 100. This is ideal for all residential HDMI distribution that doesn't need ARC support. This is 18 gigabit HDMI with bidirectional power. So next we have the POC 70U. This is the perfect receiver, ideal for security. This receiver has a 3-port USB hub to support various KVM applications. And then last over here, we've got our Zig POC 70L. This is the POC 70 essentially light. This is ideal for commercial applications such as bars and restaurants that can handle a lower resolution.
So anything up to 4K 3444, you know, anything above that, then you would want to utilize the POC 70 and or 100. L stands for light, so the only little thing light about it is the, you know, it doesn't compress from 30 to 60.
It's also lighter on that price point, Ed.
It absolutely is, and that's why we had to bring that back due to demand, really.
All right. Ed, do you want to talk about our professional series HDMI extenders?
Sure. So our PoE Pro models support everything as the POC does, full 4K 60, 444, HDR10, HLG, HDR+, Dolby Vision up to 30 Hertz. It's really designed for 24/7 operation. The A in the part number stands for audio return channel. So embedded ARC channels are supported on the PoE Pro models. And this also supports IEEE. So if those of you who are not familiar with IEEE, IEEE has been a standard since 1960s. What that allows us to do is monitor the ports that we're connected to. So I'll give you an example. If you take the HDBaseT output out of this extender and accidentally plug it into an Ethernet port on a TV and or projector, because all ports look alike, you know, with this extender, we try to communicate and ask questions. Can you support video? Can you support power, IRRs 232? If we don't hear anything, we don't open up the power gates. At that point, all you have to do is just unplug, power cycle, you're back up and running. But without the IEEE, you would, if you plug it into the wrong port, you essentially have $50,000 worth of smoke in your head because of that expensive projector. You just burned it and you damage your projector and the extender. So IEEE helps us monitor all that. And in fact, Zigen brought IEEE standard to the extender world, and we won multiple awards for it in 2011. Moving to Zig OFL 1000. OFL 1000 is our flagship extender that works off of single strand of fiber. It supports a full 18 gig uncompressed. It actually has 24 gig throughput, but we label this as HDMI 2.0. Supports 18 gig uncompressed over single strand of fiber, and you can extend this up to 6,560 feet. Again, single strand. This same extender works off of single mode fiber and or multi-mode fiber. On a multi-mode, you could go up to 1,000 feet. On a single mode, you could go up to 6,560 feet.
And Ed, you're forgetting one of the most significant parts of this product. As you can see on there, it has a Dolby Vision certification, a Dolby Vision logo. All of our products are actually certified by Dolby Vision. Dolby Vision recognized really early on that we have a passion for maintaining good content. We want to make sure that the content goes directly from the source to the display or wherever it's going and actually have no compression and everything is great. So Dolby actually utilizes our products in their testing laboratories all over the world. The other great thing about this Dolby Vision certification is that this is not something we were aiming to get. So we didn't actually have to buy this certification. It was given to us. So again, when we were creating, when the engineering team was creating this product line, it wasn't being created to meet the standard of Dolby Vision. We just happened to do that all by ourselves. So that's going to be me bragging on my company and the engineers I work with, just a little.
And it was a very proud moment for us because we knew it was being validated by one of the leaders or the leading companies in our industry, well-known and recognized company. When they came to us, they said, you have a great product. It actually makes our product look better. So they started using our products globally in all their research and engineering facilities, and even in a lot of their commercial installs. So all of our products
we are the only manufacturer in our category that carries the Dolby Vision
correct. And across the board, all of our products are certified for Dolby Vision. Our matrices are AV over IP. That's part of the Cortex VIP Cinema. You know, they exclusively use Zigen products because, again, the reliability is everything, and delivering on a promises is very important when someone's spending $500,000 on a room.
Exactly.
Right.
Really quickly, if you need any more specs or information about these products, all of the information is available on our website, but also when you reach out to your Volume sales representative after the webinar, by the end of the day, I will have gotten them all the information, and they will actually have PDF specs of all the products for you. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out to your Volume rep, to us, or head over to the website. So if we move on to our Zigen HDMI switches, that's what we have here. Ed, you want to go ahead?
Sure, we have the traditional 4x1+1, that's a mirrored HDBaseT out. We have our 4x1 switch, which is our SW41 Plus. We're really excited. I mean, this whole COVID thing delayed the shipment, but these units, the SW41 Plus, is shipping end of this month. So really excited about that. It does audio de-embedding. You have your volume attenuation. You also have SPDIF output. This also supports ARC channels, so you could take your ARC channel, send it out on a left and right. That's also supported. It's got the diagnostics built into it, and it's very affordable. Next to it, we have our Zig PoE AHTX, which is a small 3x1 presentation switch. This has all the smarts built into it, so you could tie in your screen and or display, and we could turn it on, power it on, change the input, output. You know, if you're doing a small conference room, this is ideal for that environment. These here are our matrix switches, the ones that we've been shipping for a while now. The HXL family, available in 4x4, 8x8, again, has the full diagnostics. The one we're really excited about is our HXL 44 and 88 Plus. It's an audio and video matrix built in. So again, the audio is completely separate from the video. We could de-embed audio from any HDMI source and route that anywhere. This particular chassis that we're showing is an 8x8, so that means 8 HDMI input, 8 HDMI output. Each of the outputs have their own scalers, so you could utilize this in a mixed display environment. Your audio zones, you have up to 12 zones of audio. So traditional installs, you know, you have several screen displays, but you always are going to end up with more audio zones. So we wanted to address that as well. Each of the audio zones are, again, they come with their own audio volume attenuation, 5-band EQ, bass treble, mute, so on and so forth. And you could route any zone, any source to any zone, or any source to all zones. Next to it is our...
I was going to point out, with all of our matrices and switches, we do have all the control drivers on our website for all the majors. We've got Crestron, Savant, Elon,
Control 4,
URC, so you can find all that on our website.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Next to it is the HX88 HD-Base-T. This is really a workhorse. It's designed for the government. This was actually, we created this for the government project. Again, it's designed for 24/7, 365 operation. This is modular, so you could actually put in any card that you want. You could do 70 meter, 100 meter, and or HDMI to HDMI cards, or you could mix and match all the cards in between, should you need that.
All right, we are almost done, just a couple more slides here. This presentation is going to be available to the Volutone team. So they will be able to make sure that if you have any questions, if you have a specific slide that you're interested in, you will be able to request that from them, or you're welcome to contact me and the Zigen team, and we'll give you that information in a minute, and we'll help you out. So this is the Zigen audio selection that we've got here.
So Zig DAC is going to be your digital to analog converter. It actually down mixes your digital up to 5.1 Dolby Digital and or DTS. We don't dumb it down, we down mix that audio into left and right. Next to it is got Zig ADM. This will actually de-embed audio from your HDMI, down mix it into left and right. Again, this is Dolby and DTS approved product, so we down mix it. We don't dumb it down. But if you want a lighter duty product, we also have Zig Ray. This is also an audio extractor from HDMI source. Basically has input and output, and we de-embed audio in left and right, or balanced on balance, should I say. But this one will not down mix. We tell the source to output in PCM, SPDIF, and or 2 channels. Next to it, we have our Zig Packs, which is a great product. This actually converts digital to analog, and it's an extender all built into it. You can extend up to 600 feet, I want to say, and you could take your Toslink from your smart TV and or coax audio inputs, convert that into analog or optical. Give you an example, you come in from your TV Toslink input, on a receive side you could come out analog, Toslink, and or coax. Again, D2A converter and an extender all built into it.
All these products, you can find all the specs on our website or by contacting your Volutone team. This is the last slide that we have here on our product line. So what we have here are Zigen HDMI cables. So we have 3 different flavors of HDMI cable right now. We have your general high-speed slim HDMI cables. Next up, we have your 4K premium certified HDMI 2.0 cables. This cable is a little bit thicker, but it's also very flexible. I've been trying to break my demo of this product since InfoComm of last year. So it's been a full year I've been trying to break this cable and I haven't been able to do it yet. And when we have it analyzed, it's still analyzing with perfect 4K 444. And then last up, we have our HDMI 2.1 active optical cable, which is your fiber HDMI.
This actually supports up to 10K resolution. So it's talk about future-proofing the product, right?
Right.
So it supports everything, and we have them in different flavors. They go up to 164 feet. It does support eARC. For those of you that are not familiar with eARC, eARC supports the uncompressed bitstream audio codecs. So everything under the sun will be supported through the eARC channel. And again, I mean, it's future-proofed. It's got the best of VSC 1.A conversion. So like I mentioned earlier, for all your higher bandwidth requirement, HDMI 2.1 requires to do DSC compression. So anything above 48 or 32 gig raw data will get that compression. And this is ready for that. We support up to 10K. And the first one to the left is the high-speed HDMI cable. Volume and their customer love these cables. So if you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. You won't regret it. Either one of them, honestly, you won't regret it.
Both of these cables have the grip connector. It supports 20 pounds of tension on that locking head. So you're not going to be able to just yank this cable out of a unit. This actually, like I said, supports 20 pounds of tension. So there's a very strong grip connector.
That's right. All of these cables do have that. And one more thing that I want to point out, our AOC cable, again, supports the autonomous EDID management and only requires 500 milliamps. So no additional power supply is required. So if you've tested some AOC cables in our industry, you know that some of them require power injectors and not all of them support autonomous EDID. In fact, I don't know of any that supports autonomous EDID, and you could put in your own analyzer and verify that yourself, because most of the time they don't even read what it's plugged into. They'll generate their own EDID tables. Again, with our AOC cables, it was really important for us to have that autonomous EDID management, be able to be transparent, allow the information to go from your display to the source, so they actually make a handshake and you don't have any dropouts and or weird, blue, gray pixelizations and whatnot. So again, if you haven't tried it, you owe it to yourself.
Give it a
if
shot.
you're not happy, no questions asked, just bring it back. So.
All right, so that is us in a nutshell. This is all of our contact information. You can call, email, of course, reach out to your Volume team, but we are always here, always willing to help. If you have any really technical questions, though, call Ed, because I'm just going to tell you to call him anyway.
All of us, really. I mean,
it's just how it is.
Volume team, and if you, we could even do three-way calls to help you with your system designs and or some weird part requests that you're just not familiar with. So feel free to reach out to any one of us. We're here to work with you. We're easy to do business with. So think of us as your resource. That's it. It's the only way.
Guys,
thank you so much.
That was awesome. I mean, that was packed, like I said. Ed, thank you so much for all your expertise. Vanessa, your energy and your expertise and your experience with especially distribution. That's the one thing. It's how to really utilize all of our teams for the jobs that are coming at our dealers. That's really it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You were so correct. You are so easy to work with, and the product platforms you have are outstanding, just simply outstanding. So guys, thank you so much. So Michael, I know you would ask me. Yes, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna turn off this video. I'm gonna stop this thing right here. We don't need to see any more of this. But I will render this video, and then I'm gonna put together from Vanessa the links to this deck, or the deck that they want to be available and everything else. Links not only for AllNet and MRI's Zigen category, but Volutones as well. So that's what you're gonna get at 4 o'clock today. Okay, so I'm gonna get to work on that. You guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. To our dealers out there, thank you again. I've got a bunch of stuff happening next week. Please join me on that. and throughout June anyway. I'm just working on July. So we're still doing the webinar thing until we get to live trainings. And when we do get to live trainings, you're going to see us three at the Volutone locations. Guaranteed.
I would love to, and if
Absolutely.
we have enough time, I would love to color the whole gamut, the color gamut chart, the HDR aspect
Oh,
of it,
Lord.
really dive in deep, so to help understand, to help dealers understand what they're dealing with. And
Well,
again,
Gary,
thank
you got him all
to
excited.
Volutone and all your participants. Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it. And thanks for your business.
You know, Ed, you mentioned, so when you get the slide deck later on, guys, and you get to the color palette portion, look at that in detail, and coupled with what you just saw in the presentation, Ed's going, I wish I could have covered a lot more. So view that tonight or tomorrow when you pass it to your team and dive in, and absolutely, let's start from there on diving deeper and get questions either through me or to Ed and Vanessa. Okay, guys?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Keep
Thank
out there.
you.
It's getting busier for everybody, which is a great thing. Let's keep it rocking. Okay, guys?
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.